Yes. Frank, you good?
Yes.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting, setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, mailed to all who have requested and paid for same, and published in the Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Brown.
Here.
Councilman Begg.
Here.
Councilman Baranco.
Here.
Councilman Deline.
Here.
Councilman Giaconetta.
Here.
Councilman Bennett.
Here.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney Joseph Ragno and our Borough Administrator Kevin Boyd.
Okay, thank you. In an update, I'd like to update, we had some concern from some residents about a potential kidnapping in town. The police did look into the whole matter. They spent a lot of time and effort trying to figure out what went on, because there was some reported pictures out there and things that got out on Facebook. It's been found at this time that nothing has come out of that. No one's been reported missing. No one's been reported abducted. They've actually, I think, if I'm correct, talked to the kids in the car, and it was basically just kids fooling around, which is good. I mean, I'm glad the police and I'm glad the residents did what they had to do. But at the end of the day, I'm also glad that it was just what it turned out to be, just kids fooling around. With that, I would like to warn everybody, because I did get a lot of calls on it, and it did hit Facebook, that, we have to take everything for a grain of salt. When our police are doing an investigation, they're obviously not going to speak about the investigation as they're doing it, so give them some time to do what they have to do. They have their own webpage. You should go on their Facebook. They will update when they have information. Of course, residents, can always speak about what they want, but we shouldn't jump to conclusions so quickly that gets people nervous and scared at the same time. I mean, look, I have kids. If I lived on that street, I would be very nervous about it. I'd be very upset about it myself. But we also have to give the police time to do what they have to do. So I think it all worked well at the end. I'm glad the residents did what they had to do, but I'm also glad that nothing came out of that. That's what I have. Can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
So
Second. Councilman Bennett, Councilman Deline, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? 5 minutes and your name, please.
Yellow 444 Millen Avenue. Thank you, Mayor, for clearing that up. I didn't pass it on. I just got a phone call, and I'm saying, oh, my God.
No, that's
then
fine.
I thought of Councilman there with the kids and stuff, so glad everything went well.
Yeah.
Question, a couple months ago, I came up to see if we can do a sign on Millen Avenue, because they're racing like crazy, and there's a lot of kids.
Speeding sign.
Yes. So nothing came out of it, so I don't know. Anybody looked at
Councilman
it?
Begg, did we reach out? Or Councilman Giaconetta, did we reach out to Chief?
Yes, I did, yes.
Do you remember what they said?
With the sign, I know we're going to step up patrols, but never discussed the sign. The sign's been other places. They've been having hearings.
Oh, we had the portable sign there for a little while.
The portable sign, yeah.
Okay, so you're asking for a permanent sign, or a portable?
Yeah, I don't remember portable sign either. Not
Yeah.
by my Millen. There's two Millens, by the way. One is on one side by the,
Right. Which one are you talking about?
we're talking the
The
one
short.
next to, the short one.
Short
by
one,
Broad.
behind
Yeah,
Broad
that's
Street
it.
and,
Right.
I mean, they are tremendous. They have small kids, and the residents are nervous.
Right. I will tell you that they do patrol pretty heavily down there on the weekends because of all the events going down on Joe Grill. And I actually get complaints from residents that they get stopped often in that area, but not necessarily in Midland.
I was going to say, we're all the way up.
Right, you're up there.
Yeah.
Bo, can we bring it up again to the?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll bring it up in the visor.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay.
No problem.
And Giaconetta and Bennett, good luck.
Thank you.
I won't see you till after the election.
Yep. Anyone else from the public like to address?
Randy Hitton, 443 Montclair Ave. Yes, I want to reiterate, I wish a lot of luck to Frank Giaconetta and Nick Bennett. I won't see you. We'll keep on fighting for the next couple of weeks, but I wish you guys a lot of luck.
Thank you.
Was at the seniors. I want to thank the nurse, came in, gave all the flu shots. I got the under 65, which was a little easier. The over 65 said they hurt, but
I'm under 65, and I'm saying they hurt.
Oh, there you go. And so I just want to thank the nurse for that. It's a nice service that
It is. It's a
the
good
town
one.
does. Yeah. Just a little report on the Shade Tree Commission. We did our fall removal and prunings. We removed 34 trees so far. We pruned 18, and we'll be planting another 20. So we would like to plant more than we remove, but it's still the state of affairs that we're at. There's more old trees that need to be taken care of. And I want to thank Mr. Boyle, he's been helping out Shade Tree, and thanks Frank Giaconetti, he's been a great liaison, so I want to much appreciated. Let's see, Channel 77. What up with that station? Sometimes it goes on in 3 days. This last time it took 11. I was
So
here.
what are we talking about now? Council meeting?
It didn't come on, correct?
The council meeting didn't come on last time because he got the information late, he got it up. Again, I'm going to reiterate that we don't have that time frame of when we're going to put it up. We do the best we can to get it up. It doesn't mean that it's going to be up the next day.
Well, it's never been up the next day.
It could take 4 or 5 days, and if we can get it within the 2 weeks, we do. But if we get more, look, I know anybody running for office now is complaining about our taxes are too high. We definitely don't want to put more money into Channel 77 right now. We're already putting in $18,000 of a grant money that we're getting from Cablevision to move the line from where it is at the school back to here, so it makes it a little easier. But that's grant money. It's a very expensive proposition. I will tell you, a town next to us doesn't have it done, and they're looking into doing it, and they turned it down because of the price of what it costs to do. So we're doing the best we can. I think we do a fair job or a good job of getting it up as best we can. But there are glitches still in there. I will tell you that.
All I ask, and all the citizens of the town ask, if you're going to do it, try to do it right.
Well,
Right now, at the last meeting, I had mentioned that I brought in a second PhD, Dr. Amy Rowe, to speak at the library. And a lot of people on Facebook said they wish they had known, and I mentioned it at the last meeting. The meeting that she was coming was on the 18th, and Channel 77 didn't come on for the 22nd.
Okay,
So-
and our last meeting was when?
It was
The
the
11th. Okay, so,
And the meeting for Dr. Amy Rowe was on the 18th, of which I brought to the last council meeting. And of course, 77 didn't go on for the 22nd, so that was a new point because...
22nd, I don't think it came on the 22nd, that's a Sunday. So I think it came on the 13th, I'm sorry, on the 20th, which is a Friday. So I don't think it came on the 22nd.
Well, we're still too late for the meeting at the library.
Right, but you're asking for it to come on within a week, and that's sometimes doable and sometimes not, depending on what's going on the tape and how busy they are. We're not the only town they do.
There's a lot of people that do watch it, and all they ask is to do a little better job on getting it up as soon as possible.
We will do that definitely. I agree with that.
We were a little disappointed. The turnout was pretty good at the library.
Good.
Well, disappointed none of you guys could have made it.
We had a...
You know, you had other commitments. Warren Sedek had a commitment. But we will continue to bring PhDs if I have to, and if you can make it,
That's great.
it would be appreciated.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Step up.
Gregory Wayne Cockather, 26 Albert Street, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. Godspeed, Eckham and Frank, for the election. I'm glad we can do this in this country and this town. Thank you for supporting the Reformed Church and its efforts to open, especially during the roof and everything else. And I got an interesting story, which I'll make a side note of it. I was looking at a yearbook yesterday, one of the old yearbooks. The library has it. And all of a sudden, I was looking at this picture, and this woman, came in the library. She said, "So that's big." I said, "What?" He said, "That's my picture in high school." That happened the other day, because I was looking for a teacher, and when they started, a certain position, so I just, was there, and I said, "Wow." But again, I wish the best for Pompton Lakes for the election.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also want to, you brought up the church. I'd like to thank the county for stepping in to help with the grave sites there. They did find out that it was historical, and they did use some county funds to redo those graves, which I thought was a big help and very, very generous of them. Anyone else from the public like to address? Mr. Lo?
Michael Felicetta, 70 Barber Drive. First off, I want to thank you, Mayor, for being responsive. As Mayor Michael Sarah knows, I'm the one who, I guess I first heard about the incident. I was informed by my fiance. I did some investigating myself. I made the Facebook post. I got everything started because of my concern of what I had heard and what I had seen on the security footage captured on my neighbor's home. There's many things that are alarming about what happened, and thankfully it is, as you said, kids fooling around. And I don't know if you are aware at this point if any kind of repercussions for what they did. I mean, they came down the street at over 40 miles per hour. We have full video of everything. If you want to get down to the engineering and science of it, yeah, you can figure out how fast they were going. It's not why I'm here, though. The fact of the matter is, you had a bunch of teenagers or kids in their 20s flying down a dead-end street where all children live. Every other block, every other house on that block has children, small children, teenagers, and it's uncalled for. And then to cause an incident like that in broad daylight, in public, running around screaming, throwing each other in the car, and then flying down the street with somebody's legs hanging out the car. That's dangerous, and it's all caught on video. The police have the video, and I just hope that something is done about it, because I grew up in this town. I've lived in this home my entire life. I've never heard of anything even close to this happening, short of what happened in the pond home many years ago. Crime, fortunately, is very low in this town. You walk down the street, you don't see much cause for concern, and growing up in a town like this, you see something like that, right away it catches your eye, it brings a lot of attention, and that's why it got the response it did on Facebook.
Of course.
Is because when people move to Pompton Lakes, they know what they're getting from Pompton Lakes. And, I just hope that something is done, or something will be done, and these kids are made fully aware of, one, the tax dollars they wasted for our policemen to have to go through and investigate this. And I'm sure they had to reach out to other bureaus, or, I know it spread to Wayne, and there was other districts that, were getting calls and concerns. And, in this day and age, in this time of year with Halloween and all the other kind of scares going on out there, and, some of the events that have happened in neighboring towns, it's really concerning, and it's inappropriate behavior, especially in this city. And, like I said, I just want to reiterate, I hope something's done about it. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. It's a disruption to the community, and it brings, a lot of alarm. So.
All right, so there are a couple things there. I'm not going to blame any resident for taking care of the neighborhood and deciding that something was going on. Calling the police, I've never had a problem with anybody calling the police for any issues they ever had. The one thing is, there's two parts to this. The speeding, Frank will address that with the chief. If they're speeding down on that road, we'll set up some stuff down there for that. Typically,
there's not issues with that on a regular basis.
But if there has been, we can have a look at that. I don't think the police are going to use a video to find a fence there. What they did is right, no, but kids do stupid things, as we all know. It's not the first time, it won't be the last time.
Of course.
And like I said, my only concern with the whole thing was, and it's nobody's fault, is we just have to let the police do their job. And sometimes the police are not going to talk a lot until they figure out what they're doing. And I know for residents that gets concerning because they don't hear anything. But I have to let them do their process. So I appreciate what the police did. I appreciate what the residents did. Everything worked out fine, and we should keep, like I said in something I put out, we just keep diligent. We're always going to be diligent of our neighborhood and our town to make sure everything's right. So as long as we do that, it'll work forward from there.
And of course, and as you said, I understand they have to do their job, and as residents, we will be concerned. And, with something of this potential magnitude, that's what caused the alarm it did. And, I will go back on my own Facebook, and I have over 500 people asking me minute to minute, have we got any update yet? And I'm glad I can walk away from this meeting and tell people that everything is okay and it's not as bad as it is. And as you know, in situations like that, if it was of the upper magnitude that it could have been, time is of the essence. And, that's why I wanted to take a step forward and try to get the information out there as soon as possible.
Yeah, and
make
I
as
have
many
no
people
problem with that.
aware.
Look, on my end, I received numerous calls on it, and I told every person that called me the same thing.
Okay.
Let the police do what they have to do, and we'll get an answer in the next day or two.
Okay.
They're on top of it. This is their job, this is what we paid them for,
Mhm.
and that's what I
And the
think.
only other thing I would ask of you is if you could just make a statement on some other forum so people that you're connected to, residents are aware, because there is a lack of information on the matter, and there is a lot, because of how quickly it spread, there is a lot of concerned people out
Yeah,
there.
I can
And
get
I
something
can't
out.
reach everybody, and I'll do my part because I am the one who sparked it, but I will do my part to let, people know what happened today.
Yeah, I can reach
And
out. And the PBA I'll have the PBA put
Thank
something
you.
out.
I appreciate
All right,
that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Is that a hand up, or you just waved to me?
Lauren Bennett, 4 Sunset Road. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Flood Advisory Board. I know the resolution concerning natural resource damage assessment or potential natural resource damage assessment is on the agenda for this evening. And I wanted to speak to you guys about that. Pompton Lakes definitely needs the funding from any natural resource damages assessed for damage that occurred in our borough to stay in our borough. We have numerous needs. We definitely need ecological restoration. It's both a social justice issue for our residents. It's an ecological issue to shore up some of our more fragile ecosystems, and it's a flood control issue. This is something that Flood Advisory Board has been involved in, and on the surface, it might look a little surprising. Why is Flood Advisory Board talking about natural resource damages? Why is this our concern? Why isn't this environmental protection's concern or open spaces concern? But the ecological stability of the South End is very important for flood control. And any funding that can be generated and that rightfully is due to Pompton Lakes and to Pompton Lakes residents can really protect South End residents. Ecological restoration for flood mitigation is maybe a little bit of a newer idea, but it's something that's gaining traction. It's something that is documented as working. Rutgers University has worked on it. Montclair State has run continuing ed programs on it. It works. It's real. And I think that Flood Advisory Board has chosen to take the lead on this because we recognize how difficult it is to fund these types of projects. So I'm going to ask that you all really think about the potential impacts and the potential benefits to our community by making the request. We certainly understand that making the request does not guarantee it will happen. This is very much out of the borough's control as far as the final decision, but we're never going to get that decision if we don't ask for it. So thank you for considering it, for being willing to consider asking for something that's a little against the grain. I know Flood Board often asks for thinking outside of the box and maybe going against set precedents, but this is something very important, and the timing right now is very crucial. As you all probably are aware, and the public may or may not be aware, there is a referendum on the ballot this November, I believe it is statewide, concerning the control of funding from natural resource damage assessments and locking down the potential uses for that money. So this is something that's now coming up on a state level, on state radar, so I think that the timing is perfect for our borough government to pass this resolution and issue a statement in asking for and clearly supporting keeping any money paid for damage that occurred in our community to help repair that and fund the ongoing restoration of our environment. So,
All right, and I can't speak for the council, or what's going to happen, but it's on the agenda, and we'll address it when that comes up. But I will tell you that, two things, I agree with what you said, and I also agree with the fact that, remember, we'll make the request, but it's the federal government who's going to make the decision on this, and that, that is out of our hands. We can do what we can do. There were some issues with the way some of that was written out, because some of those things cannot physically be done because of limitations within the governments, but I don't think we're going to look at that too much and drawing it up. If we get anything out of it, it's a good thing. So, I do appreciate the fact, the work you guys put into it, and the council will decide on it in a little while, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask for a
Yes.
clarification?
Mhm.
You jammed a lot into 5 minutes.
Do that well.
You referenced the referendum
Yes.
in your presentation to
Mhm.
us. Did you state whether you as a private citizen are
As
asking for
a-
yes or no?
Okay, the referendum that's going to be on the ballot in November, that's statewide, as I understand it, and I completely admit the last week and a half have been a little busy in my life, so I have not read it as carefully yet. I have some time before I have to cast a vote on it. Based on my current understanding of it, it is a vote yes on that referendum, as I understand it right now, is in favor of limiting natural resource damage assessment funding to only being used for ecological restoration, as opposed to allowing that funding to go into general budget. Now, this is going by the explanation that was on one website, and I don't remember which website it was, that listed the referendum and then gave the explanation. The language on these things is always very technical, so I am going to go back and reread it. And I know Councilman Zalon probably has read it more closely.
Yeah,
and he sent me the
Lauren's
link.
basically correct in what it is. So right now, when the state sues a company, for example, I'm thinking of what happened in Lower Passaic River in Newark and everything like that. State may sue a company, they gain natural resource damages. Whatever amount that is, currently the state has the ability to basically allocate it however they want to. They can go to the general fund, it can be used for transportation, it doesn't necessarily have to be used for the restoration of natural resources. This, a yes and a pass of this referendum would actually change the state constitution such that any natural resource damage awarded has to be used to restore natural resources. And to take it a step further, why this resolution actually is actually very important is the first priority for that funding is the community in which the natural resource damages took place. So before, DuPont, for example, had already actually paid for natural resource damages, that went to planting some trees up in Wanacue, and however, the state chose to spend the money elsewhere.
Like the beach replacement in the south of New Jersey.
Right.
There we go. Under this, basically, if Pompton Lakes had the ability, and there's, I think, 4 or 5 projects listed on the resolution, had these projects identified, they were basically more or less ready to go, or at least the ability to move them along, that money would have to be used for these projects rather than beach restoration.
So you're advocating a yes?
I'm advocating a yes on the referendum as a matter of protecting and keeping that funding. And, I understand there's always consequences to locking down funding, but right now, especially in the Passaic River Basin, we can't really afford to ignore ecological damage. Our loss of wetlands is a direct impact. We all know that when they pave the lakes up the mountain, we flood more. And the flip side of that is restoring our wetlands is only going to help us, and it is something very important, but it is something very difficult to find funding for. So this is where I'm very glad you are considering the resolution, and I feel like the timing of this resolution works so well with that referendum. So, as Flood Advisory Board Chair, I can't say anything about how to vote one way or the other on a referendum. As a private citizen, yes, I will be voting yes on that referendum. And on behalf of Flood Advisory Board, thank you for taking our requests and reviewing this resolution, and hopefully you do pass it tonight.
Okay, thank you. And just to verify what Councilman DeWine was saying, for the residents that don't understand, we did get a settlement from the federal government years ago, I'm going to say maybe 10, 15 years ago, and the money that we got from that did not go back to Pompton Lakes. It went to Wanacue for some trees in Back Beach Park, and then a good portion of it went down to South Jersey to replenish beaches. So that's kind of what this thing is talking about in general, that if the damages were done here, hopefully we could keep some of that money here and do some work here. So for us, obviously, I think it's an important thing. How the federal government sees it, that's a whole different ballgame, but we can talk what we want from the local side. So thank you. Anyone else from the public? Step up.
Maria Kent, 17 Glen Court. Good evening. I just want to follow up on Lauren Bennon's comments. I want to thank her, and I'm also on the board, the flood board, and I'm also the chairwoman of the Environmental Protection Committee, and we do support, the members of the committee do support this resolution in its entirety, and in the way that Ms. Venn explained, why it's necessary for the council and the mayor to support this going forth, because we want to repair the damages that were done here. If we can get that money, and it's even the little bit that we get, a lot, it should not go to other towns. We've suffered enough, and so with that, we do support that from the Environmental Protection Committee. I just want to make that very clear. Secondly, I just want to invite you all to come to our river cleanup, which is coming up this Sunday from 10 to 12. Councilman DeLion is our coordinator on that, and he's doing a great job. We have a lot of press coming out on that. I want to thank Council President Terry Riker, because she got us involved with the bid, and the bid is sponsoring. They're going to be a sponsor for the T-shirts that we're giving out this year, and they are beautifully designed. They are beautiful. And we had a professional person come out and actually do the design. Thank you very much, Terry, for that. They're being very generous with us. So they are supporting this initiative because it is a town-wide cleanup. It's not just in one area or the other. It's wherever you think there's a problem, we're going to kind of give you freeway to do whatever you need to do. We're going to bring it back. We're going to have pizzas and refreshments after that. We do have the high school environmental club coming out and helping us. So I don't know how, I don't know how many people come. We don't really take a head count, but excuse me, I have a cold. But when we do, it's usually a fun time. It's only 2 hours, and it's 2 hours well spent.
Maria, can I ask you, they are calling for rain on Sunday. What happens?
Yeah, unless it's like a torrential rain, we're going to really try to get out there.
They're calling for heavy rain.
Yeah, if it's heavy rain, we really don't want people trudging around.
So when, how will that word get out to people?
I will try. I will be down there and, with the sign with the umbrella saying, go.
All right.
We don't have a rain date. It's very hard to, it's very hard to pick a rain date on something like this, because now you're getting into November, it's going to get cold. It was a nice time to have it because the poison ivy is kind of low. We haven't had a lot of rain, so there's a lot of areas that we can, really freely go into without, worrying too much about, sinking into the mud and all that. But if it rains, pretty significantly, we're unfortunately going to have to cancel.
Well, maybe if we are going to cancel, maybe we can go up on our webpage, the town webpage. Okay, so
we
can tell people to look who are interested in going. If it is raining hard Sunday, they could check the town webpage Sunday morning before the event. And you can see it if it's up or.
All right,
We also have Facebook events.
Right, but if I can tell them to go to one place, we'll do the town. Okay.
I think Councilman DeLion puts it on, you have it on the Facebook page for the town, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
All right, so I'm going to tell the residents who are concerned of going that just check the webpage before you go if it's raining, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
All right, but hopefully.
Hopefully they're wrong.
Yeah, hopefully they're wrong. All right, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to this? Step up. Good night.
Good evening, Steve Foreman, 818 Ranch Avenue. Just to follow up with Lauren and Maria, I'm here to support the natural damages assessment. Sorry. And just even though we know it's out of the town's control, I always feel in my professional life that it's best to stand up and ask, especially with dealing with federal government, state governments. If you don't ask, you never know the answer. So I'm glad that the borough is looking at it and to hopefully pass this resolution and put our hand up. And again, worst case, we say no and we'll move on from there. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Councilman Day, Councilman Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the following minutes? Regular meeting minutes of October 11th, 2017, special meeting minutes of October 11th, 2017, 6:45 meeting. Councilman Devine.
Second.
Council President Ranker, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve the following bill list as stated below. Can I have a motion? Councilman Day. Second. Councilman Branco, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? We have no petitions. Resolutions, whenever you're ready.
Does anyone wish to have any call?
Anybody want anything pulled?
Can we pull 188, please?
188.
186.
186. Okay.
Whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Pompton Lakes have reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions. Whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Pompton Lakes does desire to move resolutions for individual action from that agenda. Now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolution 17-185, 17-187, and we're going to pull 186 and 188.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve resolutions as stated above? Council President Riker?
Second.
Councilman Devine? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
What else?
That's all in favor.
Oh, it's all in favor. Okay, all in favor.
Aye.
Against? Okay, separate action.
Separate action, resolution 17-186, authorizing the award of a bid of a 2018 Ford 350 Super Diesel 4x4 pickup truck under MCCPC contract 315C in the amount of $48,416.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilman Giacometto, second.
Second.
Councilman Devine, discussion?
Just have one explanation.
Kevin, you want to give an explanation? Go ahead.
As part of Public Works request this year was for a new garbage truck which was ordered in for a new pickup and plow package which is what we're doing today.
This is the plow package.
The whole thing.
Right.
Truck capital, truck and plow
So
package.
is this replacing something, or is this,
Oh, yeah.
Replacing all the vehicles.
and something like this, does this come out of capital, or
This
is
is just equipment
this
capital.
is capital improvement? Okay, thank you.
Mayor, this price, Borough Administrator, includes the plow.
Everything.
Thank you.
And if I'm correct, we try to replace on a yearly something,
It
yeah.
depends. It's the first time we bought a pickup in 2 cycles.
Okay.
It depends on the age of the vehicle. Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion?
It's the deal with the Morris County Co-op? Is that what's right? Okay, good. All right.
Do I do the next resolution, or I have to do this one? Okay, can I have a motion?
I move that, Mayor.
Councilman Branco, can I have a second?
We
Council
already
President,
did.
We had a
I
motion
have the
second.
motion.
oh, we did? Okay. Motion to approve.
No, we had a
Oh, we
roll call.
roll call, I'm sorry, roll call.
Councilwoman
That's a
Branco.
preview, roll call, no roll call.
Yes.
Keep on your toes.
Councilman Benn.
Not you.
Yeah, that'd be-
Councilman Bay.
Yes.
Councilman Branco.
Yes.
Councilman Deline.
Yes.
Councilman Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, resolution
Right, well, she's gotta read it.
17-180.
Yeah, you can read it.
17-188, requesting natural resource damage assessment funding for the borough of Pompton Lakes.
Can I have a motion?
So moved, Mayor.
Councilman Branco, Councilman Devine, any discussion?
No, I just wanted to pull this out because this was the resolution that Lauren Venn and Steve Foreman and Maria Kent came up and spoke in favor of. So, they took their time to come out here, so I didn't want to just make it a separate roll call action for this
Okay.
resolution.
Any other discussion?
I just feel like this is a no-brainer, Mayor. That's why I moved it.
Okay.
Really.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Rice.
Yes.
Councilman Benn.
Yes.
Councilman Bay.
Yes.
Councilman Branco.
Yes.
Councilman Deline.
Yes.
Councilman Giacometto.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No separate. we did
No
the
separate
now we'll do
ordinance,
first.
yep.
Okay. Ordinance will be presented for second reading and final adoption on November 8th. Ordinance 17-23, an ordinance amending section 18-4 of the Borough Administrative Code, light hazard uses.
This ordinance was requested by the fire department, and all it does is replace the word fire department with fire prevention bureau. That's the only purpose of the ordinance.
Seems like a lot of work there.
It is, yeah. That's what the request is.
Can I have a motion to approve ordinance 1723 for
So
introduction?
moved.
Councilman Giacometto. Second. Councilman Branco. Roll call, please.
Councilman Riker.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett?
Yes.
Councilman Bay?
Yes.
Councilman Baranco?
Yes.
Councilman Deline?
Yes.
Councilman Jacobowski?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, under my report, I'm going to start with a motion. I have a motion to approve the appointment of Dean Siopa as a member of the redevelopment agency to fill an unexpired term 12/31-20. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilman Begg? Second, Councilman Bennett had gotten it. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay. Okay, under my report, first of all, I'll need two closed sessions, both on negotiation. I had the opportunity to sit with the Boy Scouts last week, and they wanted to learn about town government and ask questions, and they came in and got to sit up here on the council, and they actually asked a lot of good questions and had some good ideas, and we have a very popular Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops here in town. We get a lot of Eagle Scouts that come out of that, and this was actually the Cub Scouts that came in, and they had some very interesting ideas of where things could happen here in town. One of them being the microphones. They didn't like how the microphones looked from out there. So that was a nice thing. I had we went the Halloween hunt this last Sunday. It's always one of those events that everybody comes out to town and they like to go to. It was well attended this year. We had probably 350 kids out there. And I put a lot of that because of Facebook. In the old days, you had to talk to someone to know it was coming or read it somewhere on a board. Now with Facebook, it just gets out there. And we actually just had enough Crumpins, or maybe even a couple short this year, so we're going to have to order more. But there were a lot of kids. They had a lot of fun. The older group didn't seem to want to listen to me too much. When I said give a 5 count, they left on 2 and almost tackled me down. But besides that, I thank the Recreation Board. They did a great job in putting that all together. It seems like everybody had a good time, and it's always a nice event. We met with the FBLA. They do a project every year at the high school with the FBLA, the Future Business Leaders of America. They've decided the high school project this year is going to be about redevelopment. And they want to and they usually do pretty well in nationals when they go to these events with their choices they pick. I know the last 2 years they've won nationals or come in second, I think. So they're deciding to do it on redevelopment, and we told them we would sit with them and help them with the ideas. And the first idea they have, and this is coming from the kids, this is not coming from anybody up here, they decided they'd like to have a meeting with all the high school students as an assembly with a couple of invited guests to explain what redevelopment is to the high school kids. Now, if I was in 9th grade and I was going to hear about redevelopment, I'd probably be sleeping in about 10 minutes, but they show some interest, and I give them credit for it. This is a tough one to pull out. I mean, it's not an easy thing to explain. It's a lot of work involved, and they want to get the whole high school involved in it. So kudos to them on trying to do this. It should be working. When we have the date, we will get it out to everybody. I think they're even shooting for a separate date, if it works, to have parents come and ask questions also. So that's a nice event for the school, and between us and the school, I think it'll work well. The river cleanup, I wanted to bring up again. The river cleanup helps everybody in town. It's not one area, it's not one river. Unfortunately, we are a passing town from rivers, so we get garbage from above, and it kind of stops off in our town here. We pull out a lot of garbage. I've done it the last couple of years, and there is a lot of garbage, from shopping carts to boats we pull out. So if you'd like to come and help, it's at 10 o'clock. We're meeting at Hirschfield Park. Is that right? Hirschfield? Yes. Hirschfield Park. It's only a 2-hour time frame. We break up into teams. We go out and do what we got to do. We get people in boats, and then they supply some refreshments after, pizza and other things. So it's a nice time, especially if it's a nice day. It's a real nice time to come out. So please come help us do that. And that is my report. I'm sorry, one more thing. I did have a couple meetings with redevelopment this week. Again, there's developers still roaming around, looking at things. I attended the bid meeting, and there was a lot of discussion at the bid meeting about redevelopment and how it's going to be handled by the businesses in town. We will be putting a parking parking committee together to discuss the parking needs of everyone concerned when redevelopment happens, from residents to shop owners to workers to people who shop in downtown. So all those things have to be figured out. We have hired with the bid an expert in the field of parking that will be negotiating that through us, and we're going to start that process starting tomorrow as our first meeting. It's a closed meeting right now, but we will inform you of that information as we move forward.
Just you know, if they're looking for people on the parking committee, I'll volunteer my abundant free time to be part of that committee with my background in transportation planning.
I will let you talk to you
If
about
they
it.
say no, it's fine, I won't be offended, but, you know.
Okay. I think they've picked the members already, but I will keep you in mind if they lost a member. And that's my report. Council President Riker.
Okay. We'll transition right to redevelopment. The redevelopment agency met third Thursday of every month, right here. We met on our regularly scheduled night. We had a presentation by an owner, a building owner, with a potential project, which is typical. The owner had come before the redevelopment agency quite a while back, got some input, came back with some new diagrams with their lawyer, with their engineer, with their architect. There was a very active back and forth between the members of the redevelopment agency and the experts that the property owner brought. And they were given sort of a set of marching orders to try to make some improvements, make some clarifications, and we're hoping that they'll come back before the agency the next meeting or so we can move that application along. The mayor spoke a little bit about the bid meeting. I'll leave most of it to Councilman Bay, but they once again reported a very successful bid buck sale. If you missed this one, I think they're not quite sure exactly how many they're going to run next year, but arguably they're looking for about 3, and with Facebook and other mechanisms, we'll make sure we get that word out. Also, the mayor and Maria Kent mentioned this river cleanup. The river cleanup is a lot of fun. Hopefully it won't be pouring rain. It is constantly amazing what comes out of those when you break up into groups to do the cleanup. And I do want to give us a special acknowledgement to the bid, because they did come and they are not only supporting them in terms of funding the T-shirts for the event, they have professionals who help them, who has worked with Maria Kent on these things, and it's just another way and indicative of how the community works so well together. I'm just looking at my notes. We do have a veterans ceremony coming up, which is prior to our meeting next time. Our ceremony is always a very moving ceremony, and I encourage people to mark their calendars. It will be November 8th at 6:30.
Can I jump in? I actually have
you're
information on
fired.
it, so you can read that.
Okay. Veterans Day Memorial Ceremony on Wednesday, November 8th at 6:30. So it's the hour before our council meeting, and it will be across the street at the Carnival Center. I assume this will be posted on the website, Facebook. Great. So I'm just bringing it to folks' attention, because if you wait till the next council meeting, it will be too late. In my day job, I work over at William Patterson. I teach in the business school, and one of the things any of my students will indicate, especially those who take my courses in the fall, I always give significant extra credit to encourage them to go out to vote, to appreciate the value of the vote. I never want to know who they vote for, but I do want them to go through the process and understand what it is to register to vote, whether you do it by mail, whether you do it in person, and the significance. I also try to make the point that, especially, sometimes the youth tend to say, oh, I'll just vote in presidential elections, not understanding that their vote really means that much more in the local races. So I can award the residents extra credit for voting, but I can really encourage everyone to realize that we're very lucky that we can do it. And please, November 7th, Tuesday, is Election Day, so please go out and vote.
It's funny you bring that up, because one of the discussions we had with the Boy Scouts when we were here was the fact that voting is their option to make a change. Even at 10 years old, I tried to make them understand that Voting is their way to affect change and make things happen. At the same time, they should step up, like a lot of residents do here in Pompton Lakes, to help the town and community they grew up in. And, if you feel you want to step forward with something, that's what you should be doing. And I think when our youth here understand that. We see that with the youth that come up and volunteer into adulthood. So, that's another special part of Pompton Lakes here with the volunteerism that we have and all the groups that we have. So I agree with you, the voting is another important part of that. Okay, Councilman Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start by saying that October 29th, Sunday, is a trick-or-treat run by the Girl Scouts. It's at the Pompton Lakes High School parking lot, and there's discussion that the mayor and council may have a trunk ourselves this year, along with the police and fire department. All right, so we attended the car show.
Can you explain to people what trunk or treat?
So a trunk or treat is for the.
Oh, I am old.
I
They
think
didn't have it when my kids
I
were
think it's
little.
relatively new. We didn't do it when I was a kid. It's relatively new in the last 7 years?
Yeah.
Couple years?
Yeah, last several years.
Yes. Basically, a bunch of parents park their vehicles in a large parking lot, and the kids, instead of going door to door, not instead, but in addition to, I guess now.
In addition to.
In addition to going door to door. I guess it was an alternative, maybe started as an alternative to going door to door. It's a different day, and a bunch of parents park their vehicles in a parking lot and open the tailgate and give out candy, and the kids kind of go from car to car, trick-or-treating, so to speak. And Girl Scouts have done, I think we've gone to for the last 3 years, I think they've done it, that we've gone to, and each vehicle does a theme, and the best themes get awards, and pets that come dressed up, it's different awards and stuff, so it's fun. It's a good afternoon, and lots of candy. Be prepared for a lot of children to visit your vehicle, sometimes multiple times. Yes. So, all right, so that's Sunday, October 29th. I'm not sure of the rain date. I don't have it in front of me, but check Facebook and probably town website as well. We'll put something up there. So last Sunday, was it 2 Sundays ago, the Pompton Lakes Car Show. It was a nice day, a lot of nice cars. Frank and I had the privilege of handing out trophies at the end of the event. A lot of trophies were given out. I also had the privilege, if you want to call it that, of helping to park the cars in the morning. And I didn't drive them, I just kind of guided which, how much of an angle. Apparently this year's 20 degrees was the goal, so that we can fit more cars without having to go completely parallel or perpendicular. Later that week, I had lunch at Lincoln Elementary with my 2 girls. I think it's a great thing that they do over there. They invite the parents to come in, and depending on what grade your child is in and what day of the week it is, you sit down and actually have a school lunch. I've done this for a couple years with my older daughter, and this is my first year going twice in the same week for a kindergarten class and a 4th grader. And then you have to see them play. You're invited to either stay for recess or come early and watch them at recess, which is kind of cool, because I've always wanted to be like a fly on the wall to see how my kid interacts with other children, and this is my opportunity to do that. I got my flu shot on Monday. That was very good over there. Arm still hurts. Last night was Historic Commission. We're still looking for a Class A member. Now, a Class A member is someone who has an engineering or architecture training or degree with like a historic background, specifically. So if you or anybody who may be interested, please let me know. Last Sunday, or was it Saturday, was Autumn Fest at Pompton Reformed. You guys always do a great job, and we had a huge turnout because the weather was really nice. Also, Mayor mentioned the Halloween hunt, but earlier in the day there was the Girl Scout Fall Festival, and we had a great turnout for that as well because the weather was really, really awesome. And this is the first year I was at the Halloween hunt being on the other side where the children are running at you, and I'll tell you, it's interesting, we'll leave it at that, to see these small kids running at you. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, so, the car show, I forgot I was at the car show too, but the reason I bring it up is not because it's a great event and you get to see classic cars and it's a really nice event, but, the reason we have those events and things is because it brings people into downtown, and then they go to the restaurants and they shop and they go where they gotta go. So, this is the idea behind the bid and the chamber, that they have these events to bring people from the outside into our town, and they seem to work. I mean, it was very crowded. So that's the other side of why we do these events. And the Class A member, it's a great group, the Historical Committee. We have a lot of history here. They meet once a month. It's not a very long meeting, maybe an hour, right?
1 hour.
And they get a lot done, and they're actually in the works of putting together a walking trail of Pompton Lakes with a map that you could actually go see it and walk with it and go to sites. So if you're having any of those qualifications, please reach out to Councilman Bennett or myself, and we'll see if we can get you on there. Councilman Beck.
Just to piggyback on what you were saying about the car show, it's a great event, and they get about 300 cars at the event every year. You get a lot of people from out of town. I have friends that have come from Bedminster to come up here to the show, so it does bring people into town. I attended the Pompton Lakes Community Partnership, the bid meeting on October 19th. There was a discussion on redevelopment. It was reported that the current owners of the Salvation Army property are planning to sell the project to another redeveloper. It was also mentioned that the owners of the CJM building will be making a formal proposal to the redevelopment agency. It was that evening of the meeting, actually. The bid authorized spending $250 as a sponsor for the upcoming annual community river cleanup. That's what was mentioned earlier. Art Kafka reported the Visual Improvement Committee was working with several businesses on signage improvement grants. Rob Walker reported that the bids promotional committee had a successful bid bucks sale, and in the future they're looking not to have 3 bid buck sales, 4.
Oh, I got that backwards?
A little bit backwards.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. He also said the bid scarecrow and pumpkin decorating contest, they were very successful. They had to purchase additional pumpkins, about another 150 to be exact. The bid is now planning for the next event, the holiday stroll on December 2nd, 2017. This is the same day that the Toys for Tots train will be coming through town.
Could you read that date again?
December 2nd.
So, just explain what that is a little bit, so people know.
Well, the holiday stroll is something that'll start about 4 o'clock in the afternoon and go till about 8 o'clock. We'll have a little parade through the town, and it's the start of the holiday season, and really do a wonderful job. The bid and the chamber work together on that. It's a good job. Tim Trost is in charge of the Toys for Tot program this year, and train will be here, I believe, about 1:45 in the afternoon.
No, I thought it was 1:40. You think it's 12:40? Or we have to clarify that?
It's 12:40 and it'll leave at 1:45.
Okay, I was just looking for the text, but...
And continue on. This community's been very generous and really is one of the better places.
So the Marines run this Toys for Tots program, that the train comes into town, and we like to fill up a train car of toys that go out to the underprivileged Marines and their families. Like Councilman Vega said, we usually do a nice job in filling that train, so I'm sending it out nice and early. If you could show up with an unwrapped gift, you can help. The Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts will help load the train. Santa will be there, the radio station, hot chocolate. We want to get as many residents out there as we can to give a nice gift for the kids.
Also, if you can't go the day of the event, at the bid meeting, they began to organize the businesses in town that will serve as drop-offs. Mm-hmm. So there were a handful of members of the bid who in fact have businesses in town. The new theater, when I say the new theater, they have the studio over further down Hamburg Turnpike. There'll be a new drop-off, and then of course a lot of the drop-off points that we are used to having. Hardware store said, Nizo said, the Tuxedo, and I think you'll find they're beginning to put the list together, but if you can't come to the event, the drop-off spots will be very visible throughout the town, and those drop-off points really help in addition to filling up the train.
Did you have anything?
It's 12:55 to 1:40 according to the website.
12:55 to 1:40 at the train station. All right, go ahead, Council Mike, I'm sorry.
All right, there are two other upcoming events that are important to the community. The Kind and Safe Outline Behavior Program being held on November 6th at 7 p.m. at the Lakeside School. That's for parents and students. And a Drug Education Forum being held November 30th at 7 p.m. in this municipal chambers. That's sponsored by the Pompton Lakes Prevention Coalition and Chilton Medical Center. And I'd also like to mention we lost two citizens in town that were from town, that serviced the town for many years. Dave Gorley was on the first aid squad and had been the executive director of Chilton Memorial Hospital. Dave passed away this past weekend, and his funeral was today. And our condolences to him and his family. And also Paul Kelly, who was the AD director at Pompton Lakes High School and the second football coach here. Paul was involved in the community, lived in the community, and they had a nice service for him and his family at the halftime of the football game this past Saturday. And that's my report.
And you're right, those two people were very involved with the town, you know, for a very long time, so my condolences to their families.
Before you go on, and Dave wore a lot of other hats. I worked with Dave. He was, in addition to many hats that he wore, he was chairman of the bioethics committee at Chilton for quite a number of years, and I worked closely with him, and he was really a special man. I had asked you to describe trunk or treat, but I realized that it's, when we keep talking about bid bucks and bid sales, it's not a bad time. This is a bid buck. Bid buck is money that can be spent in just about, not 100%, but just about all the businesses in Pompton Lakes. They come in denominations of $10 cards, and if you participate in the sale, you get a premium. So for $100, you get $150 worth of bid bucks. So it really encourages people to spend their money in town. So that's what a bid buck is.
I should add, for residents who don't know, the bid is the Business Improvement District. It is a tax that's put on the landlords of the buildings in town. It is not a tax that comes from the residents of town. So your tax dollars are not going to pay for the bid. It comes from the landlords themselves. They pay a separate tax. It's a separate entity that is run. It's a quasi-committee from the town, which means we really don't have control of that money. The bid controls their own money. They have their own budget, and they collect their own funds. It kind of goes through the town with just the financial part of it. So the bid does collect their own funds. And some of the improvements you've seen over the years, like the streetscape, the sidewalks, the lights, the benches, that was all purchased by the bid. So they put a lot of money into that. So I just want everybody to be aware of that. Councilman Branco.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to thank the Chamber of Commerce. Assembling 300 cars for a car show is not a small feat. It was a good day. I love the car show in this town, and my 7-year-old son is a gearhead, so we really enjoy that time. I have a brief report. This is our last meeting before Election Day, and as cliche as it may sound, after so much time, we can never forget countless men and women who gave their lives to give us the opportunity to cast a vote for a candidate that we believe in. I just want to remind everyone, it's also an endorsement of the process for which so many people gave their lives. So as cliche as that may sound, that is the reality of it. So November 7th, be sure that you take part in that. I attended the zoning board meeting last night. Very uneventful meeting. There were 2 resolutions that had to be voted on. They were voted on very quickly. They were actually voted on in the month before. They were made into law, so as it were, by the zoning board this past evening. We were here for 25 minutes. I have MUA. I attended MUA meeting on the 16th of October. pretty spirited meeting. They had their financial audit for the Pompton Lakes MUA submitted to the state, so that business is done. Nighttime hydrant flushing is finished. Hydrogen flushing is not finished, but the nighttime stuff is through. We have a new approved sludge contract for the sludge that we have to get rid of here in town. Our next meeting on for MUA is November 20th, and I would specifically like to thank Borough Administrator for his item number 13 on his report, because that was something that I came to him for. It happens to be in my neighborhood, and I thank you for that, Kevin. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Just a reminder that I want to thank Liz in the office, and all the people that work on the CRS rating. Every year we have to put our CRS in, and that's how we get the outstanding discount that we get. But there's a lot of hard work in the year to put that all together. Without that paperwork and without the updating of that paperwork, our ratings would change. So it's a lot of time and effort to do all that. The Flood Advisory Board has to be involved, the recycling, the office to do all the paperwork. Nick Agnoli, our flood advisor, and unfortunately, at the time when we were trying to put this all together, he had an emergency, so he couldn't be around. So there's a lot of extra work thrown on people, but again, we got it out. Hopefully we'll get our discount, and keep where we are or get better. So it's very important for this town. 25% on your flood insurance is a big deal. So I thank everybody involved with that. Who is next on my list? Councilman DeLine, are you next?
Yes.
Councilman DeLine.
Thank you. Well, most of my report was covered by public comments, so I'll have to plan that in the future more often. But I did want to bring up the river cleanup, and as other people have said, knowing from participation, what a great event it really is. It's not a very glorious event. You definitely will come out dirtier than you were, so bring gloves. Dress appropriately. If it does rain, I think we've done at least one cleanup in the rain that I can recall in the years I've been doing it. I did want to thank Terry for reaching out to the bid and the bid and Valerie call of doing the design. I mean, we're really excited about that. I haven't seen it, but Maria loves it, so that's usually enough for me. And pizza and water will be served after the event. Again, thank you to the council for passing that resolution. I think it was important. It really reflects on all the hard work that the Flood Advisory Board does. So thank you for that. The only other item I have really is today I met with City Green. They are the ones that provided the grant towards the community garden. We had arranged for basically a design consult. So we took a look at a couple locations that we're considering, discuss the layout, discuss some of the aspects. He's basically going to come back with a conceptual design for the locations, both locations. He was actually really excited about it. He says he does some pretty, I don't want to say substandard, but challenging sites in some of the more urban parts of Passaic County. So he was pretty excited to see what we had available. I think at that point we've got that coming. I'll be arranging for the committee, the people that stepped up and participated in the community garden committee coming up, and then probably do some kind of public forum after that, so we can talk to the public, tell them what's going on, what we're planning, answer questions, get solicitation of interest. Probably for the next several months, we'll be looking to fundraise, looking for donations, do the best we can to really get enough going so we can, really put shovels in the ground in the spring. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. I'd also like to congratulate Councilman DeLine on his purchase of a house here in Pompton Lakes that he'll be moving into very soon.
My second one.
The second one, yes. That he'll be, I think, moving in this week, right?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Congratulations. Councilman Giacometti.
Congratulations. I also attended the car show with the mayor, Councilman Bennett and myself, Councilman Bennett and myself were honored to give out the awards. It took about 2 hours to hand out all the awards, but it was a good time, though. It was a good time, and everybody, it was a very nice day, and like I said, Councilman Franco was talking about before, his son was so animated with these cars, unbelievable how his young age, he's into these cars, it's unbelievable, the things he knew. But it was a good day by all, thank you. Also attended the 6th Annual Fall Festival for the Girl Scout, which was nice. My daughter's a little older now, she's in college, but it's nice to have an event like that and to see all the young girls down there and their parents and everything else. It's very nice, it was a very good time. Also with the Autumn Fest at Christ Church, I stopped over there that same day, that was a very nice event held over there. Also, I know Councilman Begg touched on it, down at Herschel Park during the halftime, the athletic director, Paul Kelly, they actually raised money to hand out shirts to everybody. And it said Pompton Strong on the front with the Kelly name on the back. And he honored him at halftime. When I was in school, he was my athletic director. I know he was always yelling at me, make sure you get in shape, let's go, we need you out there. You can't be hurt, you got to keep going. He was always a motivational guy. And, it was good to see him honoring some of his family and to see a lot of old teachers that I remember when I was there show up. And it was a very nice event, and it was touching, and everything they talked about it was definitely true. So it was very nice. Also, to touch on, I attended last night, couldn't make it today, but with Dave Gorley, I had the privilege to work with him. He was on the first aid squad, and he did a lot for the first aid squad. And it was a tribute to him. It was at Festus in Totowa. I went that night, and to see all the first responders there, and he had an honor guard of all the first responders and first aiders from all northern county, all northern New Jersey there, honoring him. And it was definitely a privilege. And it spoke to the testament of the man that he was. And he was a good man, he's going to be sorely missed. Only 61 years old. So, sad to see that. The last thing I have is, I forgot to mention with the mayor. Mayor and I, along with our attorney, attended the extra Board of Health meeting. It was a special meeting, and it was in regards to two ordinances that they passed. Ordinance BH, Board of Health 17-01, and BH 17-02. 01 was not a problem, it just puts everything into the ordinance, or it actually has your ordinance. B2 was the problem because this is what the guts, the bones of the thing are. I know the mayor came to the meeting and he spoke with the several big members and restaurant owners and everything else, and there was a lot of concern of some of the things that we're trying to incorporate. So what really we came out of it is the mayor graciously is going to be on the committee along with the Board of Health, the Pompton Lakes bid, a member from the bid, a member from the chamber, and affected owners, not all of them, but a handful. And they're going to sit down and come up with different things where we can tweak the ordinance going into next year. The ordinance was passed, but there's several things that the bid and other restaurants raised concerns about. So at least a synopsis of the meeting that came out of that was that everybody's going to sit down, tweak the ordinance, and there's several things they had problems with, questions on, and we'll probably bring that back to them, probably in 2018, we'll get that squared away. So everybody walked away from the meeting, they were happy, and they felt that was the best solution, and, so Joe, thank you, did a good job also that night. But that was the one thing. I don't know if you wanted to touch anything with that.
Yeah, and you said it all. I mean, the health department, for anybody who doesn't understand, writes their own ordinances and rules on how they work. We share ours with Wayne, so we incorporated some of what Wayne has down there already. Some of the things that work in Wayne might not work here, so that's what Councilman Jackson is talking about. We're kind of going to address those differences to make some of the business owners a little more happy, but at the same time keep our standards up that we need to do with the health department. So we'll make that work. And our council was good enough to suggest the idea of making it move forward now, but we can tweak it and change it through amendments in the next couple months to make it work for both sides. So I think we'll be happy when we're all set.
Yeah, I think it was very compromised, so thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay.
I have no report.
Okay. That's easy. I didn't even have to say your name. Next.
I have a few things, Mayor. Everybody received my report and backup by email last week. First thing is we applied for the federal government the Assistance for Firefighter Grant Program, looking to fund some more turnout gear for the fire department. Unfortunately, our application was not funded. We have gotten funding in the past, but unfortunately, we're not funded this time. So we'll look to review that down the road. Bill already mentioned the education drug forum on November 30th here. Given the proliferation of drugs in our communities across northern New Jersey, I think this is important, especially for parents that come to this program, because I can tell you that you may have a young person living in your house that has a problem and never even know it. They have done such a good job disguising their problem that I think this will be educational for them. We should all be very attuned to. Some more good news, as part of our closeout of our elevation and demolition grants. Remember I told you a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, we received over $2 million from our SRL program. So we did receive our reimbursement from the 412 program of $319,000. So now, once the DEP completes its reimbursements, we'll have all that money restored back into our coffers. We did the best practices, as the resolution talked about on the agenda. We scored 84%. We actually only had 4 no questions. What's happening now is, to make it more difficult, we used to have a list of maybe 35 questions. Now the list is down to 20, so now you have 4 no's at 35, or a higher percentage than your 4 no's at 20-something. So we'll have to look at a couple of things. One of the things they talk about that we haven't had is a personnel booklet. That's everything. Most times we've gone by our contracts, but it might be time to really look at putting together an employee handbook. That was one of the major impacts, and I think it's really the big no we have there. Riverdale Boulevard Phase 2, that was 95% complete when I did my report by speaking to the engineer. That is now 100% complete. We'll be going to final closeout, which then the state will reimburse us another $50,000 from the original grant. Our CDBG curb project has been complete and closed out. We received all our reimbursement from the county for sake on that. Broadway project, that is 95% complete. The big issue there is not necessarily a punch list, but if you recall, they damaged the wells on Broadway that were put in there by Comores under the DEP requirements. That well work is actually getting done next week, and then we'll be able to close out that project. As Councilman Barranco talked about, early in the spring, questions come up about the possible paving of Barber Drive. Barber Drive was one of the projects on our list. We didn't really believe it was going to end up getting any state funding because it's a dead-end road, and there's a lot of criteria to get state funding. And I mentioned to the governing body that if I could come up with some money based upon the other projects we did, and had some balance left over. So we have some balances left over, and so we're going to be doing Barber Drive probably early November, probably November 8th or 9th. Right now, we're just trying to, they have wells there too.
Let's make sure they don't dig those wells up.
I already promised Mr. Epps we're not going to do this again a second time. Because I think he had a stroke the first time he heard about it. So anyway, we're going to do that in early November. There's also an area around Howard Street and Babbitt intersection. We're going to fix that area too. So that's all going to be done. Actually, next week, Garcia goes in, does all the catch basin work, some restoration, and some of the curbing. So we'll move right along with that very quickly.
Can I ask a quick question about that? I had received a complaint about, I guess the homeowner on Broadway was upset about he didn't feel like he got enough notification when the project was starting. What do we do in terms of letting the residents know, bring up signs?
The contractor hand-delivered notes to everybody on that street.
Okay.
Everybody on the street got
he could have missed it, I don't know, but that was, I just wanted to ask.
Well, even on Barber Drive, we hand-delivered notes, and because it's a short street, a lot of parking, the police are going to post the parking prior to the milling and paving. So that's what we normally do. I think we did Riverdale Phase 2, we had the portable signboards there to let people be aware of it. So we try our best, but sometimes people don't read paperwork.
Before you leave, MCCPC? What is
That's Morris County Cooperative Pricing
Oh,
Company.
that's a co-op?
It's co-op. Tilcon's going to do this project for us. What happened is we just do straight mill and paved, 2-inch mill, 2-inch overlay. You go through the county co-op, you get a good price, and there's no engineering involved. It's pretty much down and dirty. It's very easy, very quick. The river work, actually tomorrow, they're going to be out putting up the beginnings of our curtains for wood turtle and for
where will they be?
sediment curtains.
Which river are they going to be on?
We're going to be on the Wanacue. Unfortunately, this year, the state no longer has a wood turtle expert on staff, and we're going to pay some money for the wood turtle experts,
I
so.
wonder how much that job pays. Wood turtle specialist.
Well, it's gonna cost us a minimum of $2,000, it's gonna cost us $10,000.
Wow.
So it's just,
So
so the wood turtle is an expensive proposition.
Yeah, it is.
So
All around.
we are finally starting the river work based upon the approvals we received from the DEP. One of the things in our capital budget early on was replacement of the firehouse drain. If you've been there, the firehouse drain in the front was just falling apart, especially in the firehouse, and that was redone by Garcia. Now this weekend, also part of the budget was an epoxy that's going to go on to provide a newer no-stick epoxy to the firehouse. That's getting done this weekend. So almost all of our capital that we budgeted for will be checked off the list before we get to the end of the year.
Any questions for the administrator? I have two. First off, just for the residents, and I guess everybody up here to understand, we finally filled in the hole at Willow Field, and the grass actually grew, and there's actually a field there now. So if you've ever been down to Willow Field where the big hole used to be that held all the water, it is now an actual working baseball soccer field. The grass grew in very nicely. We had it hydro-seeded, and they sent me pictures yesterday, and it looks like a regular ball field.
Yeah, that's it. I'm there every Saturday, you can't even notice.
Right, so I mean, that for me personally, that's been a 10-year fight down there, before I was even on council. So I'm finally glad to get what we actually got, and Maria Kent had left, but she was one of the people that started that whole process and getting that whole field complex with me built. So now it's finally done, and I'm glad to see
And
that.
if I could just interject a second, Mayor, kudos has to go to Mark Denisick from Ferraro Engineering. We went down to see Dennis Contours at the DEP. He was not enamored of the idea, since DEP Mez put that hole in the ground. But Mark came up with the original idea, or kind of a twist on the original idea, using all of the vacant property we had utilized. We knocked down a ton of houses in that area. So instead, we changed the net fill calculation in that area. And that's how we kind of sold DEP on letting us fill a hole in.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, because it was an unusable place. It was just a big hole with mud in it for many, many years.
Mayor, do you know where the fill came from?
Yeah, it's Queenfield. We had to put Queenfield in.
Okay.
And then just if you talk to the county, Ringwood Avenue in numerous places, but in front of the church, the white church, and in the Tilcon corner, there's huge depressions in the road there. And I'm getting complaints from cars, because that's traveled heavily, that you don't see it sometimes in dark, and you're bottoming out cars in it. I know we've brought it up before. I don't know if they've even addressed it, but there is some pretty big areas.
And we reached out a couple weeks ago, I think.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, moving on here. Motion to open the meeting of public comments.
So moved.
Councilman Devine.
Second.
Councilman Bennett. All in favor? Aye. Against? Anyone from the public like to address?
Randy Hinton, 443 Montclair Avenue. About the paving, Montclair Ave still on the,
That's a grant application.
okay, that'll take a little long.
Hopefully next year. See how it
Good.
goes.
On Barber Drive, with Shade Tree, Barber Drive's a cul-de-sac at the end. A lot of the tree growth on that cul-de-sac is growing out over the road. I talked to Dave Epps from DuPont, because I was thinking with Shade Tree that we were going to maintain that and cut back those trees. And Dave Epps said that he would take care of it when they start to do the work along the railroad tracks. But if you're going to be working on the road there, is it possible to tie in that work with the road work?
Dave Epps is working on the railroad?
Well, they're going to install the new system along the railroad.
When he puts it in, okay.
Right.
He'll work on that side too? Okay, I didn't hear that.
Well, that's all, that borders up against DuPont property.
Okay.
So in a private conversation I had with him one time, he said that, no, don't worry about that, we'll take care of it. Now you're talking about paving the road, is it a
I'm
possibility?
just milling the pavement.
Excuse me?
I'm not doing trees, I'm just milling the pavement.
Well, I mean, that can work in
I'm just
sometimes.
milling the pavement.
It's a separate contract
Yeah,
for
it's
tree.
different.
It's not, but well, if Dave Epps has said
Dave's
that.
gonna be out there, so maybe I'll remind him.
So let's talk to him again, though, and see if he can get his pencil in.
We can all work it together.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's all we're trying to do.
Yep.
You know. Up to the top. I will continue always to talk about overpopulation of white-tailed deer. And this is the time now to bring out but we are heading into the mating season for white-tailed deer. It's called the rut, and this is a dangerous time. When you have a 250-pound male buck with nothing but love in his eyes, chasing an 85-pound doe, she's gonna run. And she'll run across the road, she'll run through yards. I was talking to a neighbor today on the south end of the town, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, had a big, huge buck standing in his yard. So they are starting to move now, and it's just, I would like to warn the public that the rut will probably run to mid-November. And if a deer runs across the road, wait again. Don't just start driving.
It's good advice.
God rest the officer we lost, and we don't want to lose anybody else.
I agree.
So I want to make the public aware of that. Last council meeting, consideration of taking the radio station. Any word on that?
Still in works, talking with both sides, still not done yet. We're not, and it's a donation, and if
We know that.
we have to go through phases. If these phases come back with concerns, then we have to address those concerns. So we're still talking with the radio station.
We're still in the talking stage.
Yes.
Okay. River cleanup on the 29th, great time. It's only 4 days away.
Right.
I hope Channel 77's on so they can notify the people on that.
I think it's up already, right? River clear?
Not this meeting.
It's on our website, yeah.
No, it's not this meeting.
No, this meeting.
Yeah.
I can't promise it'll be up by. It's
all over Facebook.
There you go. Not everybody's
When you
on
say
Facebook.
this weekend, it really has to be up by Friday. So what you're asking for is to happen in 2 days, and it probably will not.
Mr. Mayor, I know you can do amazing things.
I can't do that.
I attended a redevelopment meeting for the CJM building, and that was a nice project. Kudos to the redevelopment agency on working on that, Councilwoman Riker. And it's looking like a nice project. They're tweaking it a little bit, and I think it should come out looking nice.
I think so, too.
A little higher than I want, but,
It's that height now.
yeah.
They ain't changing the height.
Went to the car show. Got to commend the Chamber of Commerce and the council for doing that. It was a good time, always a good time. So we have to say that. Autumn Fest, another good time at the church. Attended the football game. Mr. Kelly was also my athletic director, and a great man. He was there from 1964 to 1988. So it was a long time, and he was a good man. He'll be missed. And let's see. Oh, just one other thing I want to talk about was you said plenty of times that it'll be impossible to lower taxes. Well, got my old tax bill out, Frank. Looked at it, and geez, the county lowered taxes. They have the same expenses that we have.
They didn't lower taxes.
I don't know if you want
Depends
to
how
call
money
it
comes in.
voodoo economics or whatever, but at the bottom line on my tax bill, I'm paying less county taxes for the last 2 years. To use Mr. Boyle's words, nickels and dimes.
Nickels and dimes.
But nickels and dimes, less is more nickels and dimes
I
in my
congratulate the
pocket.
county for nickels and dimes to lowering our
Well-
taxes. Thank you.
In my language, de minimis.
Excuse me?
De minimis.
De minimis, that's a $100 word that I don't know. You'd have to explain that to me. But, Mr. Mayor, it is possible to lower taxes.
It is?
Right on my tax bill.
Mhm.
Might be nickels and dimes, but it can be done.
Give the county the chance to see our revals.
Well, the problem is
That's right.
that is voodoo economics.
That's
So
good.
because what happened is the county, after you have to do the ratio, the county does its own analysis. Now, we've had years where the county requires the same amount of money as we do in terms of the yearly basis, and that number goes up or goes down. Last 2 years, it's gone down. There's nothing to say, once this revaluation is done, the number's not going to go up.
That's
So it
possible.
could be the same amount of money they're asking for, it's just a matter of how the economics and how the formula plays out. So they didn't do anything to save any money. The formula's worked in our favor the last couple of years. It can work against us going forward.
That's true, it can go up again. But right now, for the last 2 years, my bottom line is, I saved money.
I'll take the look a little bit.
Not last year, this year.
2 years ago.
Two years.
2 years ago, it jumped.
2 years ago, you did not. 2 years ago, it was an increase.
2015, 2016, 2016, 2017, it went down. 2017, 2018, It went down. You want to see my bill?
Yeah, but that's a split bill, right? It's two
No, it's two separate, it was 3 separate years.
Okay, well, I'll take a look at it.
Hey, listen, I'm a graduate from Pompton Lakes High School.
That's a good thing.
I know my math.
That's a good thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Step up.
Irving Wayne Cockpier, 26 Albert Street, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, class of 1975 of Pompton Lakes High School. I was a personal friend of Eileen Kelly. Maybe she was there. Precious family. There were times where, in the football game, that Paul Kelly would inspire the players to do the maximum they could with what they had. And that's all that a young person going through high school can expect of their coach to expect of them. Well, that can be carried on to life too. And Paul, I met Paul when in high school when I was a little kid, because Eileen Kelly, she and I walked into the school and said, my dad. And Charlie Getty was there at that time. And so I said, wow, it was just a precious relationship because he gave me one of the triangle banners from Pompton Lakes High School. I still have it. And that was back in 1967, I think it was. It was before I went to Lakes High School. But when I saw on your back, the Kelly thing, I thought of Paul Kelly, and I said, oh my God, did he pass away? And he did. Well, heaven is offered for everyone. And that's a precious place too.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Councilman Bennett.
Second.
Councilman Devine. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Privilege of the floor. I actually have one privilege of the floor. I just want to congratulate everybody who's running for positions in the election, on election day. And I think it's everyone's privilege to go out and vote, so they should all come out and vote. So anyone you speak to, ask them if they're going to vote. And remember, they have to know where they're voting. Some people are a little nervous to vote if they don't know the district they're in. They can easily make a call, unfortunately, to Liz at our clerk's office and say, where do I vote, what district? That's the first step in getting someone to vote. Some people haven't voted in a while, and they're afraid to find out where to vote.
Mayor, it's on the sample ballot.
It
When
is,
they
but
get their sample ballot,
If they threw that out.
They threw that out.
They say, oh, I want to vote.
My students get more extra credit if they bring in their sample ballot with their assignments.
But you still can vote, for that last day, up to that day. If you don't know where to vote, you make a call, we'll tell you where to vote. So, good luck to everyone, and I hope everybody comes out and votes. That's my privilege before. You have some?
I just wanted to echo that, and good luck to all the candidates involved. There's also a Board of Education election. They are immensely important to our system as well, so please make sure to vote for them. And the third thing is, everybody has the right to vote, provided that they're 18 years of age. If you've moved recently into Pompton Lakes after the deadline to register, you should ask for a provisional ballot. I am moving from the 2nd district to the 3rd district, and I have to vote in a new place, and I know that they don't have my information at the new place, so I will be doing a provisional ballot in my district, and, everybody has the ability to vote, and they should not be turning away anyone. If you do get turned away at the polling place, please report it.
Thank you. Councilman Bennett, address it.
As liaison to the library board, there is a referendum. There's 2 referendums. The one was discussed earlier about the funds. This one is called the New Jersey Library Construction Bond Act, and as liaison to the library board, I feel it's important that these folks should be aware of it and look into it. Basically, the state will sell a certain amount of bonds to provide grants to construct, expand, and equip public libraries. The municipality or the library would have to match those funds, and so on and so forth. So there's information online about the details, but I would hope the public would look into it and decide whether or not it's good for them. I personally think it's a good thing.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I interject one thing, Mayor?
Yes.
There's a lot of talk about the river cleanup this weekend. One person hasn't mentioned is Ed Merrill.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, we did.
I mean, Ed, behind the scenes, has gone out, checked areas have to be cleaned, and I think he deserves it.
And he's put this together for many years in the past, so he's always a vital part of anything we do environmental-wise. We always have Ed Merrill in the background doing, helping us with it, so of course we thank him for doing that. Anything else? Okay, we're going to adjourn into closed session. So, thank you, public. I need a motion to adjourn. Second, President Riker, Councilman Day. Motion to go out of closed session, Councilman Riker. Second.
Aye.
Yes? Okay, in closed session, we discussed negotiation with two separate projects. Motion to adjourn. So moved. Councilman Devine? Councilman Franco? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? There we go.